immediately convicted. And who was the guy? Van Earl Watts or something like that. Anyway, and he pointed a finger right at Ray Caruth and said, "Yeah, that was the guy. He did it." Fascinating, but far different from the drama that you see played out on TV. And if you're watching TV, you can't help but notice that the trial of the century is going on right now, and it involves Johnny Depp and Amber Heard in what a lot of people think is an ugly pissing contest, implying defamation of character and libel suit. Johnny Depp has his fans outside all screaming for him, and Amber Heard is being portrayed in not a particularly flattering fashion. We welcome to the show. She's right at the center of this, Ashley Wilcott, who is covering the Johnny Depp Amber Heard libel case for Court TV and doing a brilliant job. Ashley, thanks so much for joining us here on the program.
Thank you so much for having me. Shout out to Miami. I appreciate being on.
Well, it's great to have you because everybody's talking about this, and it seems almost impossible that this trial is probably going to take longer than the O.J. Simpson case, which that's one of the questions I guess that I've heard people ask, and anytime I've had any conversation about it is. Why the hell is this taking so long? I mean, is there really that much there to be discussed?
Right. What a great question. And let me just say, it's interesting you bring up O.J. Simpson because this trial has taken on a life of its own and has really captured the attention, not just of the nation, but of the world, just like O.J. Simpson did years ago. Of course, that was a criminal trial. This is a civil trial. But why is it taking so long? So I'm a trial nerd at heart. I love covering live trials. Court TV cameras are in the courtroom, and I teach trial skills. And I'm going to suggest this. Great attorneys aren't necessarily great trial attorneys. And to be a great trial attorney, you have to strategically be efficient, do the job well, get all the evidence you need to get before that jury, but that's it. I'm going to suggest watching this that there could probably be better trial skills, that there could have been a way to make it a little bit more efficient, to have dealt with some of the legal issues ahead of time so you wouldn't have quite that many objections. But the reality is, it is what it is. They are knee deep in it, and they're going to keep going at this pace to present all the evidence. Now, keep in mind, I have to say one more thing. This judge did give each side a time limit, 61 hours and 15 minutes.
Oh, wow.
So when they run out of time, does that mean they're done? We'll have to wait and see.
All right, and the world is fascinated by this. As you said, Ashley Wilcott of Court TV with us here on After Hours with Defo and Lubie. I'm watching it because I'm fully expecting at some point they're going to start throwing things at each other. Like Johnny's going to have a bottle of red wine or something underneath the witness stand there and just fire it in the direction of her attorneys, Amber Heard. How volatile has this been, and who comes off as more believable if you can indeed, split hairs and actually figure out, who the responsible party is?
Well, I can certainly say the court of public opinion has decided that Johnny Depp was authentic and credible on the stand versus Amber Heard, who court of public opinion says she wasn't. And let me just point out a couple of differences in the way that they testified. Johnny Depp, I think, was authentic in that he did say, yeah, I drank a lot. Yes, I abused substances. And then he continued to say, but I don't hurt anyone but myself. Amber Heard, on the other time, again, if you want to listen to the court of public opinion, says, doesn't really come out authentically and say, yes, I drink, yes, I do drugs, yes, I got in a fight with Johnny, but I didn't hit him. And so there's just, a lot of talk about he was more believable. On the other hand, a lot of people say, well, they're both actors and Johnny's a better actor. So, of course, he sounded better on the stand. But all of that is what the jury has to decide.
Yeah, that's a great aspect of it, too. Rarely do you have, like, two skilled actors capable of portraying a wide variety of people and personalities and personas testifying at a trial like this, which, how much is at stake? The figures are staggering. He's suing for $50 million. She's suing him, countersuing in another case for $100 million. What do you think, Ashley? You've seen a lot of these things and, seen a lot of different cases that were either settled or tried in court. What is your anticipation of what the end result might be? Will it end up being a significant dollar damage that's awarded to somebody?
Well, that is a great question. And part of what we're seeing is a very dysfunctional relationship. And I think somewhere in the middle is the truth, right? Anytime you hear two opposite stories, generally somewhere in the middle is the truth. And keep in mind, the whole time this was going on, according to the testimony presented, they were using drugs, they were drinking. And so who really has a very great memory of what happens if you're in that state? So somewhere in the middle is the truth. You know, $50 million from Amber Heard. Does she have $50 million? Probably not. Does Johnny Depp have $100 million? Maybe.
Yeah.
But I think the reality is you can look for this jury to really, if they find that defamation existed, that it hurt the career of one and there was actual malice, then they have to look at damages. They could do something like say, okay, you each get $1. They don't have to award $50 million. They don't have to award $100 million. So I think what we look for is, number one, they have to find, was there defamation? Number two, if so, what are the damages? I do not predict, I do not foresee, based on my experience as a judge on the bench previously, I do not expect that this jury is going to award either one those kinds of millions.
Yeah, I'm thinking it ends up like that USFL trial many years ago, where they awarded $3 to Donald Trump and his people, and said sayonara. Thanks for the effort, and it was much ado about nothing. Ashley Wilcott of Court TV with us here on After Hours with Defo and Lubie. Another interesting, aspect of this was that you have to figure these are public figures and they have PR firms working for them, but Amber Heard fired her PR people because she didn't like the way things were being portrayed, or she was being portrayed or characterized in this trial. And many saw that as a highly unusual move. What significance was that, if at all, Ashley Wilcott, in your opinion?
Super, super significant. Why? Because let me tell you something. In a high caliber, high profile trial like this, those legal teams are absolutely using people to watch court of public opinion, because that could give insight into what the jury is thinking, and they are in this to win. And so firing the PR company is a clear sign that she knew she was losing in the court of public opinion. She was being so really villainized, crucified by all the remarks that they thought appropriately a new PR team can make this look better, can help say what she needs to do to be more likable, more believable, and win this lawsuit. But let me just suggest, if you believe social media, it hasn't been successful. A lot of people do not feel like they have spun her in any different light to make her any more likable.
And how juicy is it that, like, even Elon Musk is a factor in these conversations? I mean, who's next? Dershowitz? Who are they going to bring in, who was in play in this relationship and cause some of this volatility possibly and these jealous rages of Johnny Depp?
Well, I'm going to give you a little insider information, and that is today we expect that Kate Moss, big name, right? Everybody's heard of Kate Moss, that she's expected to testify, and Johnny Depp himself is expected to testify for his rebuttal case. So that's a lot. That's big news coming in.
How, Ashley, does the jury look to you? Do they look, interested, engaged? You've been around every aspect of courtroom trials. Are you getting any kind of a message or indication from the body language of the jury?
Really great question. So Chanley Painter with Court TV is there live in court. She reports everything that she sees, what the jury's doing. And she can tell you one thing she notices is when you have a person testify in person versus one of these video depositions that's a video shown to the jury, there does seem to be a little bit of a difference. That's natural. Who wants to watch a video all day? So the body languages, they may yawn. It may be harder to pay as much attention to a videotape deposition. On the other hand, when there are live witnesses, they are taking notes. They seem attentive. They're paying attention. Remember, this is a jury of 7 that have to make the decision by clear and convincing evidence. There are 9 jurors because of 2 alternates, and many of them are men. Is that going to make a difference in a decision after deliberation? We don't know. But yes, engaged, paying attention. And I have to share with you both, this is another little bit of behind-the-scenes courtroom color, but you're going to appreciate this, I think. Do you know that there was a woman on Monday? There are people getting wristbands. 100 people can come into the courtroom to sit in the gallery and watch firsthand, right? Yeah. So a woman with a child was in the courtroom watching, and right after the jurors left for a break, believe it or not, she says, "I love you, Johnny. Our souls are connected." when are you going to admit this baby is yours?
Oh no!
That's
great.
Gavel comes down. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
Right. And so she was removed from the courtroom. Clearly, she's not allowed to come back in. But this is where this trial is going.
That's
I
spectacular.
rest my case. Yeah, I mean, it's not a particularly, a pretty picture they paint of Amber Heard and her character during this whole relationship and the ensuing fight that they've been having. And those pictures of Johnny Depp look like they were from a failed audition for Animal House, where he's curled up in the fetal position, looking like he's bombed out of his mind. So we'll look forward to it. When can we see the coverage? Is it on all day? And when can we see you on TV, Ashley Wilcott?
Thank you for asking. Court TV is on from 8 a.m. until 7 p.m. covering this case live.
That's
We're
great.
bringing you all of the testimony, but watch me, if you would, 2 to 5 during this trial, Eastern time. Defo and Lubie, I can't thank you both enough.
Thank you.
All right, yeah, a lot of fun being with you. Hopefully, we can catch up with you again before this thing concludes, or even after it's settled, if indeed it doesn't, take the next year and a half of courtroom time to get that done. Thanks so much for being with us. It was a pleasure.
So at least we got some time with her. That was interesting. She, I
I
like
like the woman with the baby. It says, "This is your child, Johnny." What other circus-like activity could surround this, which many people feel, Libby, let's face it, is the biggest waste of public money. I mean, tying up this courtroom, to decide, a cat fight between, a wasted Johnny Depp. I mean, certainly you could see where there might be merit to both sides.
Oh yeah,
of
no,
the people's argument.
I said this to Shirley when we were in Greece, because my wife has been totally into this thing, and I think it's funny because I like courtroom dramas. I thought about being an attorney most of my life, and
be happy you didn't do that. Yeah.
Well, it's just a lot of schooling. Getting a master's is more than enough, let alone that. But and the whole doing trials is just there's a lot, both sides. There's a lot that weighs on you, so that's why I would never actually do it. But I love courtroom dramas. I loved them my whole life. She doesn't watch legal shows, so I'm like, you don't watch legal shows. Why do you care about this? She's like, oh, it's better. So she looks at the clips every day and she's really into it. And I'm like, you already know what the deal is. He definitely verbally abused her, but he didn't physically abuse her. You can just tell by his personality. And she just abused him all over the place. It's clear there was an unhealthy relationship. Don't understand why it went on for so long. Why are we paying so much attention to this? But she's eating it up.
Because it's, celebrity of Johnny Depp's, stature. And, it's sensational and it involves other celebrities. What was it? Ellen Barkin was testifying at this trial. Former, flame of Johnny Depp and everybody that had been in a relationship with Johnny Depp for the most part, at least all of the people that I've seen that were either testifying or alluding to the fact that Johnny was a bit of a mess, man. From Miramar, Florida. And, the pictures of him wasted, curled up in the fetal position with a black eye and a missing finger. You're like, this isn't normal, having a fight like that, right?
Well, what's interesting is Amber was weirdly recording everything. Not sure why. So I guess they're trying to catch him.
She was supposedly banging Elon Musk.
She was doing a bunch of stuff, but she would record stuff to catch him and always catch herself.
Yeah. And then, people question the fake bruise, that she showed to the cops and the timing of that. And I guess at stake, I mean, Johnny Depp certainly did lose.
Well, he lost a lot of money.
Much of his professional income because of the fact that, no matter how much of a superstar he was, there was only so much when you're, the antithesis of a very, visible movement about Me Too and all of that and abusive relationships and sexual and spousal abuse.
Yep.
It's not a pretty picture for the Disney people to go and put you in another pirate movie. Okay.
No, and he lost a lot of money.
Right.
And he was involved in the prequel iteration of Harry Potter. He was he had just moved into that and was there's a ton of those movies. And he was making a lot of money doing that. So to me, it's pretty clear where the winner lies in this.
Fabulous moolah is what it was all about.
It's interesting that Ashley, and she was a judge, which I love that, said
very qualified. Yeah.
A lot of money, either of them. Like Johnny will probably win, but he's not going to get a ton because
what does he have? I mean, Yeah, there's
Somebody should have, exactly.
Amber Heard, unless she's raided Musk's bank account after or picked his pocket, does she have 50 million to give Johnny Depp?
Most people don't
What
just
is
have.
she going to take a job at, some restaurant and wait tables to try and make Johnny Depp back the 50 million? I mean, unfortunately, and this is sadly true. The punitive damages that O.J. Simpson was supposed to pay after losing the civil suit. He probably hasn't paid 10 cents of that.
Nah, there's
Right?
always ways around it, and that's the problem with Suits. I just think that the fact that people are so enamored by this is just interesting to me, and the way it's been played. You said the other day, and you're right. It's two actors, and you can see it. Like that's why it's entertaining because they created a drama and
they're great. Both of them are brilliant.
Insane. I've never seen like normal trials.
Maybe they're
boring.
just making a movie. Maybe that's why they're doing it. And this would be like one of those bizarre sort of Christo art type of projects where they acted like they really hated each other. The truth was they were in collaboration all along. And they have this whole courtroom thing, which turns out to be more of an epic movie than Apocalypse Now.
Yep.
And, it very much is Apocalypse Now. I mean, maybe that was the whole idea, that this was some form of reality art that is going to now consume, the entertainment world. And while we were all watching it, they were spoofing on us because they were actually making a movie. Could be. I mean, that might be the most solid theory yet. I mean, because otherwise it seems utterly ridiculous that these two people are attacking each other like this because they were on drugs, Lubie.
They both were messed up. Yeah, they both were.
And these weren't like, the guy goes out and smokes a joint. I mean, and then he says something that offends his wife.
What do you mean? She screams back. Bed. She cut his finger, and as he's bleeding, she writes with lipstick, calling him out on the mirror. And like all of this can be accounted for. It's not even like exaggeration. Like they both were annihilated. No one's doing that in the right state of mind.
I mean, it's not funny. It's kind of, obviously sad. And you're thinking, all the money in the world and all of the fame and fortune and all of the adulation that you get for being like Johnny Depp. I mean, maybe it's annoying to him to go everywhere and be immediately recognized and have people, whether they're fawning all over him or, being disturbing in the fact that you just want to go and take a crap somewhere in a pay toilet, and you can't even do that without like 10 people standing over you with cameras. I guess I know it comes with the turf. Maybe there are ways to dodge it. Doesn't he have his own island, like a barren island that he goes to? Sleeps on a rock. I think it's kind of like the private island they have on the cruise ships, right? Where we'll spend the day on our private island. Like, I'd rather spend 2 years in Alcatraz than go to that private island. What are you talking about? Put me on the rock. All right, and that was fun. Ashley Wilcott, very enjoyable, and I'm glad you got that. It's very contemporary stuff for us to get into pop culture, Lubie. We'll mix it up a little bit here on After Hours with Defo and Lubie. Now, you're going to be mixing it up tonight. Probably a very heavy and alcohol-laden cocktail, no?
I mean, look, the way the series is gone, hopefully it's not. Hopefully the Heat take their turn and annihilate. The odds makers.
Boston favorite, 1-0.
That trend stops and Boston will play a second consecutive strong game, which we haven't seen in the series. I hope they're wrong. I mean, the way the trend goes, I'd like to see the Heat take their turn. I just don't. At some point, you would think this series would level off and become an actual Eastern Conference Finals, which we haven't seen yet.
There's literally no explanation for the wild inconsistencies of this series. It's not like you're looking at one team was just smoking hot in the game. I mean, that third quarter of the Celtics in game number 1 was as abysmal as the Miami Heat's first quarter in game number 4. And the alternating results of Blowout City, one way or the other, very, very hard to put a finger on the pulse of what's going on in this series, and who would be likely to prevail tonight. Although that kind of bowled me over a little bit. I would have expected the Heat to be like 2.5-point favorites in the game tonight. The Heat also surprisingly were underdogs overall in the series before the series got underway. You had to lay 175 to win 100 on the Celtics, which I don't know. I mean, that could have been everything. Could have been on the Heat bulletin board. That bulletin board is going to be just absolutely packed.
It should be loaded.
You're minus 175. The Celtics are to beat you in the series, even though you had a much better, a 2-game better record than the Celtics during the regular season. You don't have a single guy on the All NBA team. even though 15 guys were named. Jimmy Butler would have been the guy most likely. Although you're right about that. I mean, could you have really put Jimmy Butler right now? He's all
Yes,
NBA.
the playoffs, he's been
That's
amazing.
clear. In the postseason, he's been all NBA. But in the regular season, he was in and out of the lineup,
Yeah,
and wasn't nearly this effective on a consistent basis as some of the other players were. So I don't know that that's much of a motivational factor, but I'm definitely popping up a picture of a bookmaker
Yeah.
and the fact that we're underdogs at home if I'm inside the Miami Heat locker room and trying to motivate people in that way. It does seem strange, though, that you could come into a postseason in what should be like a fairly bitter Eastern Conference rivalry.
Yeah, these two teams are supposedly evenly matched.
Lots at stake here, right? I mean, Pat Riley's involved, for God's sake. You don't think the Boston people want to get back at him for all those days with the Knicks? Of course they do. They probably despise Pat Riley and are envious of the fact that, they're a well-run organization, right? Brad Stevens obviously has done a good job. I mean, he chose a coach there to replace him, Udoka, who's done a very good job.
Yep.
And, he took that team, too, that looked like it was about to fall apart and had issues, and turn them into a very cohesive unit. Best team in the NBA from December on, January on, something like that. And they really played dynamite basketball. They were playing great during the regular season. Postseason so far, they've acquitted themselves very well. Although against Milwaukee, no slouch there. So I mean, you can't. You can't be upset or concerned that it took them 7 games to beat Milwaukee, but that was also kind of a topsy-turvy Jekyll and Hyde type of performance by the Boston Celtics, where they did finally come back after being down 3-2 and win the series. This, you would have to say, Lubie, if we were ever going to label the game pivotal, it's pivotal. No?
This is pivotal. Yes, pivotal.
I mean, you're pivoting one way or the other in this game.
Yes, this is a pivotal.
You're either in command of the series or you're really up against the old 8-ball.
Yeah, if you're the Heat, you have a Game 7 in your pocket, and you hope to win in Game 6. And if you're the Celtics, you're literally going home to close out the series. Yeah, this is everything. This is the first time pivotal is really pivotal.
Every game's been pivotal, and they've pivoted on every game. They just have. So I'm at a loss to tell you what's going to happen tonight. I don't know why I'm under the very comfortable assumption that the Heat are going to respond and play very well, and that they will win Game 5 tonight. And then, as I said, I have the utmost of respect for the odds makers, and if they're willing to go ahead and entice people to bet on the Heat by giving you 1.5 points, you have to look at that with a little bit of a quizzical eye, do you not? And say, what do they know that we don't?
Yeah, it's weird.
All right, we'll leave it at that. Golden State, that series extended to a 5th game as the Dallas Mavericks, retained some dignity by going out fighting like dogs last night. And they managed to win that ball game by 10 points under devastating circumstances. Of course, what we hear at After Hours with Defo and Lubie, and this almost sounds trite, our deepest sympathies and thoughts go with the people. I mean, but something has to be done. I think Steve Kerr was absolutely right, and I think he was absolutely correct in using that platform to express his anguish and frustration with the idea that nothing is done about these gun laws ever, and that the fact that a nutbag 18-year-old can buy body armor and an AK-47 or whatever rifle he was using that was an automated weapon.
It's always AR. Every single shooting we see.
Unless you're, invading, you're running into the desert in Iraq.
Yeah.
You should not be in possession of that. He could buy that without any weight, any background check, any psychological examination, nothing whatsoever, and have it that afternoon with the blessings of the people that own the gun store. And go out and not only, I mean, he shot his grandmother first. That part of the story has kind of been, taken out by the shocking impact and devastating effect of what transpired at an elementary school. For God's sake, it's time something was done. And Steve Kerr, I think I applaud him for using that platform last night.
I agree.
Out of the sporting world to say, hey, you know what? I have this platform and I'm speaking to the world because I have this celebrity status from being in basketball, but I don't give a flying one. Yeah. I'm going to go ahead and speak my mind, and this needs to be said, and he was absolutely right. All right, Lubie, on that note, I know we're in agreement on that. Coming soon around the corner, I'm going to be stepping off the United States soil here and heading for Italy, so very excited about that. You'll be carrying on the position here on
Yes,
After
sir.
Hours with Defo and Lubie, and you'll also be doing regular hours with
We're doing
Defo
all
and
the
Lubie
hours.
on the Ion channel, and you can Google the Defo Show and find us there as well. We always have a lot of fun with that program, 7 to 9 Eastern Time live on the East Coast. You can get audio or video streaming with that. So
Yes.
thanks for tuning in, everybody. Especially appreciate Ashley Wilcott. I thought she was very illustrative of
great.
what was going on, very illuminating on the Johnny Depp Amber Heard civil lawsuit that's going on Court TV, and obviously is a big news item, whether you're reading it in print or following it on television, listening on the radio. You can't help but hear about what Johnny said about Amber Heard and what Amber said about a drunken and just highly inebriated and abusive Johnny Depp. All right, we'll see you guys tomorrow. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. Until then, we leave you with the thought that no matter what you're doing, you got to believe.